This meeting is being recorded.
Welcome to Dark Sorcery. I'm Alfredo Martinez, and I have with me once again the only, one and only Anton Mastroianni. How you doing, Anton?
I'm very good, and it's an absolute honor to be back on Dark Sorcery.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a while since you've been on, and so what you been up to, man?
Not much. Working on a few different magical projects, finalizing some rituals, spirit work, spell work at the moment. Working on the book and slowly our website as well. So that's pretty much what I've been doing at the moment. What about you?
Yeah, so some of the subscribers may know that we're working on what's called Dark Sorcery International. It is a website that's going to also have an online shop that's coming along. Cadno Willis and I have been working on that. So she's also going to be returning to the channel, doing videos, and we're going to be going live in the Dark Sorcery Facebook group and stuff. But yeah, let's get into some magical topics. Now, let's talk about using different ingredients, because now tell me if you agree with me. You get an occult book that has some spells in it, you look through it, and it looks like it's not very, some of it looks like it's not very clear and a little confusing to the average reader. And it's like they have the spell for you, but yet they kind of leave it to your imagination of how to complete it. Have you noticed that in some books or in some something that's being published?
I have noticed that. I've also noticed as well that when they do include ingredients in spells and books, they don't really say what the ingredients are for, or the correspondence of the ingredients, or how to truly use the ingredients in spells.
Yeah, I get the impression that sometimes some of these publishers don't want to put too much information out for the masses, so they kind of hint at what it could be, and then those who are learned enough can kind of fill in the blanks for themselves. That way, they don't leak out too much information. Would you agree that's probably what's going on?
I agree with that, 100%. But on the sort of bright side of it, I think it leaves a lot of room for putting your own personal touch into the spell as well.
Yeah.
Adding your own energy to it, your own style, and your own personal methods to it as well.
Yeah, I when I come across a book like that or something published like that, I'll kind of tweak it and kind of say, okay, well, instead of using one candle, why don't I use 3 and incorporate some numerology into the spell? And then, I'll kind of, I'll mix the ingredients this way and try it as opposed to this way, or, I'll try it on this moon instead of that moon. And for me, that way it's kind of a trial and error learning ascension experience, because I catch on and like, okay, well, that's something new I can put in my book of shadows that I learned. What about you, man?
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with that and do that as well. With the trial and error aspect, though, when it comes to baneful magic, like sour jar spells, for example, it's always important to have your ward set up some form of protection from backfire, because if you're doing experimental stuff with especially baneful magic, you want to have something there just in case it backfires, which is a very big possibility when it comes to baneful magic as well.
Yeah, you always want to have some protection going on, and you also want to take for instance last video I did with Jesse James Ardia. We're talking about handling baneful herbs. Make sure you wear some gloves when you handle them. Don't heat them on the stove. They could release toxic fumes. You really got to be careful when you're handling and working curse magic, anything to do with hexing, because it can backfire. You also want to make sure that you cleanse your items. I think that's a big thing that a lot of practitioners take advantage of, or underestimate, that when they bring items home, or, whatever they're using, maybe they're using something from a previous spell that they've done. you always want to cleanse your items to make sure that all that, all that old energy is off, so that the new energy can manifest and work better and flow better.
Absolutely. It can also contaminate the spell work entirely and bring undesired results or backfire as well. Especially if you're using items in a house with someone else, you live with someone else, and that item's going to be around the house. You want to really cleanse it after the actual workings, because you don't want that baneful energy rubbing off on someone who's not exactly used to it, because it can cause effects upon the person as well.
Absolutely. And you may notice that you may have, like, if you don't cleanse your items, that may attract some energy or entities that may disrupt your life somehow. Some people may notice, oh, hey, it seemed like I've had a lot of bad luck. Well, maybe it's because, what you've been working with has been attracting other energies that are not welcome. Because like attracts like. That's just a scientific fact.
Absolutely. It's like a moth to a flame. Lower vibrational entities are attracted to higher vibrational energies. When you summon an entity like Lucifer, for example, in sort of that realm, it's like a big beacon that's being sent out and other beings can see it. That's why when you summon an entity, other entities, like for example, I'll summon Lucifer and Belial will join in, even though I haven't actually summoned him, because he sees that beacon and goes, oh, what's going on here? And decides to join in. The same applies for parasites, imposters, all these sorts of entities that want to really feed off you and will linger around the area till after the ritual is done and try to join in, pretending to be a certain spirit or to try and infest you.
Yeah, and that's also something that people don't know about or realize, is that sometimes when they're trying to summon an entity, there may be trickster spirits that come along who try to mimic and be that entity so that they can absorb the offerings that you're giving them. You always got to watch out for trickster spirits, whether you're working with the Goetia or any kind of grimoire, really, even just as simple as a spirit board. Always watch out for trickster spirits.
Absolutely. Not only will they try and steal your offerings and pretend to be that spirit, but they'll sort of feed on your disappointment. You'll try to work with that trickster thinking it's this spirit, and they'll promise all these things and get you to do all these things. And when they don't manifest and your life crumbles because you're following the guidance of a spirit who doesn't have your best interest at heart, they feed off of that as well. The best way to sort of find out if it is a trickster spirit or not is to use a spirit sigil and open it up. If that energy pushes that spirit back and doesn't encourage its presence more, it's not that spirit.
Mm-hmm. I agree. That's a good way of doing it. On a different subject, do you take advantage of planetary magic? Like, let's say if you're doing a spell, do you ever time it with phases of the moon or with different planets that may be in alignment, maybe, in any different way? Some people do, some people don't.
Originally, I didn't, till I learned from you that doing spell work ages you. And a really good way to counteract that is to do your spell work on a full moon and call upon the energy of the full moon. That's when I actually originally started doing that. And I noticed I didn't feel tired after my spells. I still had energy. The aging effects actually stopped and I was able to reverse them with vampirism. But I use solar energies primarily a lot for healing, empowerment, even baneful working. So light can be very baneful. Solar energies can really crash down upon someone.
Yeah. Like I had said in some of my older videos, is that why deplete yourself? You know what I mean? Why deplete your own life force and energy when you can take advantage of what's already there? whether it be the sun or whether it be the full moon. Because there's, if you notice, there's the stereotypical witch that's very old and decrepit, and, you can tell that it looks like life's taken a toll on them, when really it's, a lot of the spell work that they've done, they've been depleting from themselves so much that they age fast, and you can bypass that by just taking advantage of the energies, even the energy of the earth, draw that up, instead of visualizing your own life force just coming out, because it will, and you'll notice it, you can feel, certain, your life force may be shooting out of your arms, or like you said, feeling tired, you feel really tired. Take advantage of what's around you, be more aware, that even, be aware of what's around you, even be aware of, the herbs and the plants in your area,
Absolutely.
What do you think about that?
I agree with that 100%. It would be foolish not to use things around you to your advantage, let alone to be aware of them or unaware of them. As a witch or a witcher, you want to be in this for the long haul. You don't want to shorten your lifespan for the sake of your workings. You want to live out your workings, not have your workings live out you, so to speak. Like you said, drawing upon the energies of the earth, that's really good. I do that a lot to generally recharge, because I don't like to always vampirize, because you can become dependent on the life force of living creatures like humans. And when you pull the earth's energy, it's a lot more natural and less dependent.
I guess, as far as taking advantage of the full moon, or, different planets that may be, in the sky at the time or visible, I guess you could take a look at it as, let's imagine, a river, going down. And if you wanted to, you could go ahead and march against the current of the river and get to your destination, no matter the time of day or night. You can do that. But if you take advantage of, planetary alignments or phases of the moon, you can just flow with the water. You know what I mean? That type of thing. I mean, it is draining to kind of go against the current, but you can still get the job done. But, or you could just time it and just flow. Would you agree with that?
I absolutely agree with that. And you'll find that your manifestations will actually happen a lot quicker and a lot more effective as well when you go with the flow. Going against the flow, like you said, you can get the job done, but it's extremely draining, and your manifestations will struggle a lot. And with what you said about the tales of witches aging and how they're always depicted as being old and decrepit in movies, stuff like that, a lot of witches get around this with glamour, but the one thing people don't tell you about glamour is that everyone else may see you how you want them to see you, but you will always see yourself how you truly are. The glamour will affect everyone else but you. That's why the witches in the movies always see themselves in the mirror as how they truly are.
Yeah, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. There can be, some people may be aware, some people may not be aware of glamour magic. And a lot of practitioners do use it, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the people you see on television you turn on are using glamour magic and you're just not aware of it. Even companies, big companies that have logos that appear like occult symbols, but only your subconscious picks it up. There's a lot of sneaky stuff going around in society that has magical links, but the public may not be aware of.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
It does take an occult eye to spot those things within this world. But once you do spot them, you see how much of it there actually is and how shifty it is.
The thing is, it's important, one reason I think magic is important, and being an occult practitioner, is that just, society in general will be shifty and shady in their ways. By default, it's just a fact of, how humans are, not all of them, but society as a whole, you know what I mean, will try to deceive you in different ways, try to drain your energy in different ways where you may not be aware of. And so that's why it's important to be aware and teach yourself of how energy works so that you can spot those patterns and get around them. Whereas the rest of society, who is completely oblivious to it, is having the life sucked out of them. They don't even know it.
Absolutely. I agree with that wholeheartedly. And with what you said about society and the system, it is designed to drain you and use and abuse you, sometimes even set you up. With what we do with magic is freeing ourselves from any type of system, in essence, as well, getting around it. Say, for example, over here, someone breaks in your home. You're not allowed to deal with that person. You can get in trouble because of the system. With magic, say, for example, someone wrongs you very badly and it affects your life. It disturbs your peace, your well-being, etc. You can't do anything about it because the system will not allow you. But with magic, you can get around that. You can affect your reality around you with this and not allow the system to control you, and so to speak.
Yeah. I think that with speaking of the system, the way that the laws are set up, the way that everything, the job market, everything is set up, taxes, that's all designed to drain you of your finances. And it's all set up to drain you of your life force, and to incarcerate you as well, whether you end up in a jail cell or whether you end up in your own prison box and you don't even know that you're in an imaginary space or a box. You know what I mean? You don't even know you are, but yet society has you thinking that everything is okay because when you're growing up in school, the world will tell you kind of paint this this deceptive picture of, oh, everything's great as an adult. You graduate from school, you get married, you have kids, you retire from a job, you live out your life good. But then when you after you graduate and you get thrown out there in the workforce, you realize that is not the truth at all. You agree with that?
I absolutely 100% agree with that. And with what you said about prisons and being in your own sort of jail box, there was a quote that came to my mind. I can't remember the exact words of it, but the greatest and most imprisoning prison is when the prisoners can't see the bars and don't recognize the prison as a prison. Society itself, people have helped build their own prison and call it home.
I mean, yeah, and a lot of people may be in that situation where they, someone may be working 2-3 jobs, and then they have other responsibilities on top of that, and they have this payment and that payment, and then they have all these other demands by the authorities and societies, and they say in their head, well, I got it good, life is great, when really they're just lying to themselves. Have let life, no, don't get me wrong, life has to test you sometimes in order for you to grow. You do have to go through stressful times in order to look within and ascend and up your game magically, mentally, emotionally. We all have to go through that, but you don't have to let life just beat you senseless. You can take control of your life, and and you don't have to go through as much. Do you agree with that?
I absolutely agree with that, 100%. I see it all around me, and the rebel in me sort of can't stand seeing it around me all the time. A lot of people have that sort of mentality, the sheep mentality, where they just follow the herd and they don't want to be separate from them. And they can't really imagine living life anyway else. It's interesting.
You know, it almost makes me wonder that the reason that some of us got into magic and got into the occult is because some of us are people that like to take chances. You know, some of us are people that look at the herd and realize that it's, you know, it's just basically the blind leading the blind, you know, or in a sense, being led to a slaughter and saying there has to be a better way. So yet we like to get ourselves out of our comfort zones from time to time, you know, and we find ways to get around that. I think that, you know, some of us just like to take chances and have that mentality.
Absolutely. We carve our own path. We are wolves within the flock that realize we are wolves and not sheep, and we decide to make our own way.
Yeah, I mean, why be a sheep in life when you can realize that some stuff in life is yours for the taking? You know what I mean? You just have to be able to see with new eyes. It's like, you know, like there's that saying that goes, it's not in finding new lands, but in seeing with new eyes.
Exactly. Perception is power, 100%. And if you look at the world's most successful people, they have that exact same mentality as well.
Mm-hmm. You know, and like we were talking about earlier, you know, as far as taking chances, stepping out of your comfort zone, you know, a great way to grow magically is to, you know, with trial and error, try things out, see what works, see what doesn't, record the dates down in your book of shadows, compare notes, and you will begin to realize certain patterns that you wouldn't have noticed otherwise. And just, you know, you don't have to, you know, you don't have to follow every single step that goes into the cult book, you know, kind of change it, you know, try new things. Say, you know what, instead of using that ingredient, I'm going to use this one. Instead of doing it on, you know, this moon, I'm going to do it on this, or when this planet's in a line you know, in the sky, you know, and then that way you find your own, you know, you start developing your own magic, and you're not following a system that's been set up in the publishing industry.
Absolutely. You can even channel new ways to do things, combine your own ingredients as well by doing this experimenting. And with what you said about growth and comfort, if you live in comfort, you're not going to grow. Growth is painful. When you think of it mentally, physically, or spiritually, it is going to have some level of uncomfortability or pain to it, whether that's stepping out of a comfort zone or going through the trials and tribulations of evolution.
Yeah, you know, the way I see it is change and pain go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. And the reality is the world is constantly in a state of change. It's just part of the natural cycle. So, you know, when people, they get too comfortable and then they start to get nostalgic, life is just going to run over them because you can't, you're trying to hold on to something that is not there, whether it be, you know, a person or a place, a time, you know, basically they're holding on to a world that's something that I wouldn't say it doesn't want them anymore, but just isn't there anymore. You know, they're grasping for help, but for a rope that they think is there, but they're just grasping air. And you have to learn to change with the times and adjust. It's very, very good to be adaptable in society, and you know, not try to, you know, just basically adapt to whatever comes at you.
Absolutely. If you can't adapt, the new will just end up eating you up. I mean, you see all these people or meet people or see people in movies who are stuck in the past, have been chained to it, and they live in depression, despair. They may have trouble with addictions, etc. That's what that generally causes, that sort of lifestyle. And until you let go of the past and move on and live in the present and gaze upon the horizons of the future, you won't move forward, you won't evolve, and you won't excel in your endeavors in life.
Yeah, I mean, people waste the present, by holding on to the past, and then when they finally decide to live in the present, they say, look at, I wasted 4 or 5 years, holding on to the past, when, it could have been a lot better. But again, it all comes back to energy flow. Energy, that's how energy works. Energy is in a constant state of change. Now, back to the subject of like we were talking about trickster spirits. You do want to make sure that there's you cleanse your area and your energy around you when you go, because there's also things that can affect your astral double. That's why it is important to do certain magical exercises from time to time, and to be in a certain mindset. Be aware not only of your physical body, but of your astral double and what may be influencing it, because sometimes that's the key to why you're having certain hardships in your physical life in Malkuth.
Absolutely, 100%. The spiritual, physical, and mental, they're all linked and they affect each other as well. If your astral double is being influenced by something or a certain specific type of energy, your mood will reflect that. So you can even get physical symptoms of it. When you work with necromantic stuff, for example, or death energy, and your astral double is affected by it, it takes it in and sort of absorbs it, you'll get physical effects from it. You may feel sick, you may get sick. These sorts of things do happen. It is important to cleanse, most definitely. The astral double usually overlaps the physical body. That's why when you sort of sage yourself or you're in a salt bath, you're also doing that to your astral double, your energetic aura. It's very important also to ward your energetic aura as well. You can do this with many different types of things, astral shields, specific energies. I do it with something Mars showed me called the Fires of Mars. I have a sigil and I just pull out that energy. It's very fiery. You can feel the heat. It's Martian in nature. And you sort of absorb it into your aura, and it shields it. It burns away anything that would sort of have a negative effect to you. And it provides great results also in the physical in terms of training, boosting testosterone naturally, these sorts of things.
One thing I like about your Facebook group, Cult of Belial, is that you guys, put out a lot of different sigils that are channeled, maybe certain incantations that go along with it that are very helpful and are not available in any published work. So, I encourage any of you watching to go check out the Cult of Belial Facebook group. Link will be below in the video description. And as you go through that group, there's a lot of helpful material. And also check out their YouTube channel, Cult of Belial. So as we get going on wrapping this video up, go ahead and speak a little bit in depth of what you guys may be working on. You may not have mentioned that first.
Like I said, we're working on the book. There's 2 portions. The first portion is empowerments, transformations, things that will get blockages destroyed or removed, intense shadow work. But it's all about changing the self, changing yourself inner wise. And it comes with certain things that will empower you and enhance your magic, but it also empowers you as a person and gets you to learn your shadow a lot more. The second portion is manifesting your will upon the earth. So stuff like love spells, curses, financial magic, all these sorts of things. What we really want to do is get people to first work on the inner, then work on the outer. That's the key. You can't hold a bazooka unless you're trusted with that bazooka, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can do amazing things with it, but yeah, it's a, you know, you can either mess yourself up or do some progress. But yeah, everybody who is watching, check out their Facebook group, check out their YouTube channel, links below in the video description. And also being worked on still and coming is Dark Sorcery International, the Dark Sorcery website, which, you know, we'll have a shop on it and all kinds of things. Spells, you know, we'll be putting a lot of spells. You notice that sometimes we release posters with, you know, certain spells or certain ways of doing magic. We haven't been doing that lately because we're saving it all for the website. So that's coming up soon. But yeah, nothing else. Then everybody watching, like and subscribe to Dark Sorcery and to Cult of Belial. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Thank you.